Welcome to a new daily top AskReddit video. Today's topic:
men who have stopped looking at porn completely. How has your life changed? Where do you expect to find such men, especially on Reddit? I feel so offended that I type this even with one hand. I put my erect penis in my hand but don't move it. I get a wingman to come and jostle my elbow. I call is palming. The lowest answered post ever. Or then most answered post with no actual answers. About 10 years ago, before the porn abstinence movement gained popularity, I read a book on neuroplasticity called The Brain That Changes Itself. One of the chapters was on porn addiction in the internet age. The internet, and particularly high-speed internet of the last 15 to 20 years, made porn ubiquitous. It also made the industry flourish in the sense of the amount of porn being made, and with that, more fetish content for niche audiences. But overall, pornography generally shifted to become more hardcore. What was considered normal 20 years ago would be considered very tame by today's standards, where even mainstream porn is full of degrading, humiliating content, almost exclusively towards women. Anyway, the book I read talked about the newly explored psychology of porn addiction. Men who couldn't control their porn use to the point it had noticeable negative impacts on their lives, and perhaps more importantly, their relationships with their wives, girlfriends, and women in general. The men mentioned in the case studies reminded me very much of myself. They were seemingly normal and had normal lives, but as they watched more porn, their sex lives started to deteriorate. They were unfulfilled by normal sex and also asking their wives to do the things they saw in porn in the bedroom. A few of them actually got divorced as it bled into other parts of their relationships. I had a girlfriend at the time and I'd noticed that I was almost identical to these men. My brain had been trained from porn and I'd started with some really degrading dirty talk towards my girlfriend in bed. She acquiesced, but I knew she didn't like it. It's still one of my biggest regrets to this day that I treated someone that I loved that way. The book also talked about porn abstinence and how it could rewire the brain, i.e. neuroplasticity, to return to normal. Many of the men quit porn, their kinks disappeared, and their sex lives and relationships improved dramatically. Reading this book was sort of a come-to-Jesus moment for me. I decided to quit as well, and it was one of the best decisions I've ever made. My sex life got infinitely better, as did my relationship. I found myself thinking about sex less, but getting turned on with my girlfriend far more. There were some other relatively small improvements with my mood and sleep, but overall, it saved my relationship. I'm really glad I decided to quit. It's been just under 10 years since I've watched porn. I do think that, in a way, porn is very much like a drug. It's not just the neurochemical similarities, but the ability to watch more and more, find more extreme content, and the need for it to get the same fix, i.e. to come. I also think it's arguably one of the most dangerous things for young men today. I consider myself fairly liberal, but I was very happy to hear about the Texas porn ban, and I hope it spreads throughout the country. It is truly poisoning the minds and the psychosexual health of an entire generation. Edit: a lot of people seem to have serious contentions with my view on banning porn. I can understand the argument that it's an encroachment on civil liberties. That's a valid point. But to those of you that I've developed this view solely because of my own personal experience, or that experience is anecdotal and rare, I disagree. There is plenty of research that confirms that porn addiction is a very real thing and that it's grown exponentially over the last 10 to 15 years as we spend more time isolated at our computers. The addiction is one part of the problem, but what's far more dangerous, in my opinion, is the impact of chronic porn use on men's psychosexual health. I am not out here Bible thumping that eroticism is evil, but the ubiquity of internet porn is a serious problem that is affecting people. Somewhere a dog barked off in the distance. You hear someone's baby cry. I hear when doves cry. Tumbleweed blows through. Don't forget the sound of crickets. Eagles screech. I feel free, and don't hate myself for it anymore. The problem with long-lasting addiction was boredom leading to more weird content, but legal, don't worry. It made me realize every time I jacked off how lonely I was. However, I would attribute the lack of loneliness to my girl rather than stopping porn itself. 7 months off since I'm with my girl and the libido is up 10,000%. I was on the brink of erectile dysfunction, I wouldn't get completely hard, and now the little beast runs as smoothly as it should. I stopped almost 2 years ago. It's still not always easy when I'm going through a dry spell with my wife. But after we talked about how much it bothered her, I kicked the habit. It's hard. You have to take it seriously like any other addiction that hijacks your dopamine. It was especially hard to kick for me because I started when I was 8 after I was forced to watch porn, and other bad stuff, by a neighbor kid. Don't worry, I eventually went to therapy. Benefits: much better performance in bed. Higher appreciation of the woman I have. Learned I didn't actually have ed but instead became reliant on being able to flip through as many videos as I wanted to suit my current desires by finding the one video. Wife doesn't feel like she's not good enough because I'm looking at videos of other women. TLDR, I've never once regretted stopping. It has only ever been beneficial, for both my wife and myself. Thanks for this, bro. I've been trying to completely stop for 2 years and it's been hard. I've noticed when I stopped, my relationship was great. When I slid back to it, I noticed my relationship drop. I stopped watching porn about a month ago. I was definitely addicted, and found it really hard to get hard without it. I'm hoping that my dick will start to work again, haha. It will. It can take a few months, but you will get there. It will. I realized mine had problems about 9 months ago. I quit right there and then. It's gotten better, but I still have those problems and only occasionally it works properly. But it's getting better and better, and yours will too. I know this was directed at men, but as a woman I enjoy my orgasms substantially more, and my post-nut clarity has less of a grubby and blurred shadow about it. My mind's also dirtier than it was, and I pursue my fantasies into reality more, rather than just watching someone else do it. Preach, sis. I'm with ya. I scroll porn sometimes but can't go back to what it was now that I know what real sexual evolution feels like. Can't explain it to the addicts and counterfeits. I have to know what you mean by counterfeits now. I am also of the female gender, and I stopped looking at porn when I found someone that I genuinely enjoyed being intimate with. I didn't need any visual stimulation, you would say. That type of was so much different. Even when I was by myself, I could think of him and him smiling and his hands on me and I didn't need any visual stimulation. It absolutely changed my life. The way that he showed me love changed my life. I had no idea that your emotional connection and the way you felt about someone could be a turn on. This is the first time ever. Would definitely recommend. I've heard so many women say this. Emotional sex is the best sex. Genuinely doesn't feel as good without feelings for the person. Intimacy is real. This, carrot, you stop just getting off and find real intimacy. Everything else is a counterfeit. Just stop being depressed lonely, easy. George Constanza became a genius for a little while. Elaine got more stupider. Those dumb science bitches couldn't even make she more smarter. My girlfriend thinks I'm crazy because of how much I want to have sex with her. It's worth it and it's better than ever. She is my porn. Lucky. My girlfriend thinks I am a sex addict if I want it more than 2 times a week. I would have it every day if she let me. Hate to break it to ya buddy, but this is Reddit and someone's gotta say it, but you need to divorce your GF. Buddy, look into deadbed. Having a partner that is sexually compatible with you is crucial for your happiness. I have a good friend, beautiful family, wife and 2 kids. He jokes about divorce and wishing he's single all the time. He's pretty miserable due to the complete lack of physical intimacy. I wish you the best. Dead bedrooms. It's been a long 3 hours, to be honest. 3 hours and 15 minutes now, right? He's gone. He whacked the weeds. Nope. He's at 20 minutes again. My mind feels a lot clearer. It's much easier to focus, much easier to look people in the eyes, and my mind is much more desexualized. I actually get turned on by women in real life and can jack off without viewing any sort of stimulation. I also feel as though I'm in more control of my time. There is no more scrolling through videos and not understanding where my time went. If you want more answers, you should ask this question in the NoFap subreddit, which is also full of kooks and fantasies. I agree with the general idea of the sub, but there is a lot of cult-like attitudes in that community. And a lot of idiots who equate semen retention with some kind of superpower because they don't understand science. Not a man. I've been off it for 3 months and I'm just really horny. I feel like I'm checking people out a lot more often. Rip your inbox. I stopped completely and stayed clean for 15 years. I became a lot more emotionally stable. I was more able to let things go instead of obsessing. And I began to realize ways in which porn had warped my personality without my realizing. Then I went through a bad time in my life and started using again. This time I knew it was bad for me. I could now feel the negative effects I'd been desensitized to before, so I struggled to quit again, but I couldn't. Eventually I confided in someone and he suggested therapy. That was life-changing for me. I figured out a lot of ways I had been impacted by childhood trauma and failure to emotionally bond. My early porn use was really emotional self-medicating for these problems. I won't claim that I don't still struggle or backslide, but I would encourage everyone to quit completely. The fact that there are so few people out there who truly have quit completely is not a sign that it's harmless. Crickets. Man, even the crickets are silent at this point. You know what those crickets are doing, RN? A lot better. More energy, better social interactions. Feel like a clearer head altogether. Not as depressed. I'm only like a week or two clean, but my social battery is supercharged now. It's like I'm experiencing a whole other world that was previously covered in a blanket of objectification. I've learned to love the things around me more. Libido is up. Realizing a screen is a false reality has helped me appreciate life. The urge has gone down, but when it's time for intimacy with my partner, my brain shifts gears and sex is infinitely times better than by yourself. The standards you see in porn fade away and you realize what's really attractive. Lost about 47 pounds and my discipline is through the roof. My mind is free to focus on things that enhance my life. I don't see myself ever going back. And to those who still suffer, take it a day at a time. Put yourself in situations and places where you're unable to do the deed. Make it hard on yourself to be addicted. Eventually you'll be grossed out by what you're watching.